Okay. Good morning, people. Welcome to FlipCarbon TV. FlipCarbon TV is a new concept that my company FlipCarbon launched. Every weekend, we get on in a conversation with one person or a set of people, where we ask them candid questions around what's happening in their life, whether it is a professional life or like you guys are students, so student life, career, your perspective towards what's happening around you. That's what this concept is all about. So we have here with us today Mishti Pramani. We also have Adya Verma. We have Shreya and Ashna. And we have Adrian here. Plus we have Ved. And we also have Atreya as my co-host. What I'd like to do is, I'd like first you guys to, starting with Atreya, introduce yourself, tell us what you do, tell us your name, of course, and tell us how good you are feeling about being on air today. And that's how we start.
Hi everyone, my name is Atreya. I'm your co-host for today. I'm 19 years old and I'll be going to college this year and I'll be studying finance. That's what I'm interested in. And it's a great opportunity to be here, listen to these young minds speak about their perspective, because that's always an interesting take on, on multiple issues that we talk about. So this should be good fun.
Yeah. Let's move on to Mishti. Mishti, would you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mishti Kevaramani. I'm going to the 9th grade and I study in Vidyashilpa Academy. I decided to participate in this because I wanted to share my perspective and also listen to other people my age and think about and listen to what they think about these questions.
Okay. Mishti is also a social activist. She has just worked with a couple of her friends on a lake rejuvenation. And Mishti, somewhere down the line, if you want to talk about that, you can do that. Over to you, Aryan.
So, hi guys, I'm Aryan and I'll be going to grade 9 in 2021. And I currently stay in Pune and I'm in a school called Indus International School. So, yeah, and one of my main hobbies is playing the piano. So, yeah, that's most of it.
Okay. Adya, over to you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Adya Verma. I'm a 13-year-old and I'll be starting 8th grade at Vidyashilpa Academy soon. I feel really honored to be given this opportunity to voice out my opinions out here and also have the chance to explore the opinions of ones around me, especially the teens. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Where you would want to introduce yourself?
Hello guys, my name is Ved. I study with Aryan, same school. I'm going to 9th in the coming year. And one of my main hobbies is music. And from this conference call, like it's something new to me. And I just wanted to explore what kind of discussions happen here and what kind of.
Okay. Over to Ashna, followed by Shreya.
Hi, my name is Ashna. I'm going to 12th grade now, and I study in Alpine Public School in Bangalore. This is a pretty exciting thing to see overall online. A lot of people connecting from different places online. So I thought this would be an interesting opportunity.
Shreya?
Hi, I'm Shreya. I'm in 7th grade. I'm 12 years old. And I thought this would be a really unique opportunity for me.
Okay. So, people, my name is Prabhash. I am one of the founders of a company called FlipCarbon. To most of you, I am Prabhash Uncle, and which is completely all right till you pass 12th standard. Once you pass 12th standard, it's just Prabhash. Okay? That's the rule. If you want to stay on this show, that's the rule you have to promise to follow. Is that a promise?
Yep.
Yes.
Good, cool. So that applies to Ashna first because she's just going into 12th. So 1 year down the line, Ashna and Prabhash. Atreya has already started calling me Prabhash. So that's cool. So why I wanted to do this particular, so today's topic, if, as you guys are already aware, is trust versus exploration. Thank you, Aryan, for suggesting that topic. That came from you. And the idea is to understand what you guys think about the adult world, and within the context of the adult world, while you guys are transitioning from children to adults, you are in that stage where we sometimes as adults gets confused about, should we treat you like children or should we treat you like adults? Should we trust you with the responsibilities of an adult, or should we question you from the mindset that you are still children? And that can sometimes confuse the ability to completely trust you with something that we have offered you on as our trust, and then we kind of pull back on that trust. And it somehow prevents occasionally your ability to explore the world, look at this world from your lens, and figure out what you want to do with this. So that's why I thought, let me have this session. This session is in two parts. This is the morning session where I'm having all of you here. And there's an afternoon session also with an equal number of participants. And I'll then slice all of this together and present it to the world in terms of what is your worldview. So that's how this session was conceptualized. As you are aware, I'll go around the table asking questions, and you can answer your questions to the best of your abilities. We now have Amitabh Uncle, who has quietly sneaked into this conversation. Amitabh Uncle, you are not allowed to speak. If you want to be an observer, you can. So people say hello to Amitabh Uncle.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay.
I just wanted to see what's.
Yeah, so like this is a classic example of trust versus exploration issues. You know, Amitabh Uncle,
I knew that's what will come.
he doesn't get trust me fully with this session, so he's trying to kind of understand what's happening here. Don't worry, Amitabh Uncle, the children are in good hands.
Wow.
And
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are, and they're enjoying it also.
yes.
So you guys continue. Nick, you want to see? No. Okay, fine. You guys continue.
Yeah, so my first question is to you. What in this current context of your being at a certain age, and you are already transitioning from somebody who had a kind of happy-go-lucky outlook towards life as a child in 8th standard or below, to today when you are now suddenly thinking about your future and what's going to happen in your future. So one, talk to us about what is it that you want to do in life, and second, talk to us about this entire, what role do you think trust plays in your ability to explore the world, explore your potential, and figure out all that you can become. So if you can touch upon those two questions, Aryan, we'll take it from there.
So basically, I feel that I'm going in 9th grade next year, and I've already started thinking about what my future is going to be, how I'm going to go about it. So it is important for everyone, like not just me, every human being, to have someone who they trust and someone who they can confide into, because like that without that it's just another, like they're just completely lonely and they don't have anyone per se. So it is important to have someone to trust. And can you repeat the second question? There were some internet connectivity issues and I couldn't hear you properly.
So my second question was, what role do you think trust plays? Trust that people offer you, what role does that trust play in your ability to freely explore the world and truly explore your own true potential and live up to that potential?
Okay, so like I said, it is really important to have someone to trust to. So if, for example, if I have a few people who I have my complete trust in, that helps me in trying new things. That helps me in trying different methods of doing things, because I know that if anything goes wrong, they will be there to help me. So that is one aspect of it. Another aspect can be that these people who you trust, they will definitely help you in trying to go to the next level, or trying to, they'll push you to do better in everything. So that is pretty important. So yeah, that's what I feel.
So my next question is to Atreya, my co-host. Atreya, Aryan touched upon a very important concept, right? The concept of loneliness. When you are transitioning from child to adult.
Concept of? I'm sorry.
Loneliness, the feeling of being alone.
Right.
Because what happens is when you are transitioning in this very strange phase, when at your home at least, you are dealing with a lot of adults and you are still transitioning from a child to an adult. And since you have already successfully transitioned, what mechanisms did you use over the last 4 or 5 years to handle this feeling of being alone or somebody not understanding you or the challenge of being understood? How did you go about that? Maybe your perspective will give some feedback to the others here.
Right. So it's obviously a confusing time because not everybody gets your perspective, especially the adults. And it's not saying that their perspective is wrong, but it's just that our perspectives differ. So what you kind of tend to do is your interaction with your peers, your friends, their support, what they are into, their interests, they sort of play into your building your personality and molding you as a person. So your interactions with people outside your four walls of the house, that's what increases. And I think that's what ends up really playing a vital role in the person you end up becoming at the end of your transition period.
Okay. So, my next question is to you. Gaining trust has been a very, very critical element of successful transition from childhood. And although I have white beard, but at one point in time I was your age, and I have struggled through that position. How do you gain trust of adults and tell them that, look, hold on, you can trust me with this. Now that you have assigned this to me, I can go ahead and finish it off. You don't have to really micromanage me. Yeah? So what has been your methodology of gaining trust from parents, from teachers, from other adults around you?
So trust is something that needs to be built up over a long period of time. So what I do is that I start with little things. Like if they give something to me, I make sure that I finish it on time and that I'm always honest, so that when it leads up to something that really matters, they have that trust in me and they're confident that I will be able to do it. That's my method for practically everyone, even friends and adults, teachers, and especially with friends. There are a lot of secrets. So if you break their trust with the littlest thing, they won't be able to trust you going forward. So my method is just to build up of small things so that it leads to bigger ones.
So one specific issue you pointed out was don't specifically break trust, right? So that's one step, of course. Are there any other 1, 2, 3 steps that you have of building trust, which you can maybe enumerate in terms of number of steps? Maybe these 3 things, if you do, you build trust. And I can see Adya nodding her head. So Adya, you want to answer that question?
Sure. So I completely agree with Mishti. Trust is not built overnight. It's a process. It takes time. And the best way that I believe to build trust is just by being yourself. Because unless a person doesn't, I would not like to keep someone under the illusion of who I really am. I would like to be my true, honest self in front of everyone so that they know who I am. And only once they trust in my abilities and have confidence in me, only then can they trust me. So the best way is just to be who you are, is what I believe.
Okay. So be who you are. And is that, Ashna,
Right.
now that you are in the 12th standard, do you think that's easy to stay who you are when you have so much of pressure from peer group, parents in terms of conforming to a certain societal outlook towards who you should be, right? People want you to grow in a certain fashion, do certain things. Within that context, is it easy to be who you are?
I wouldn't say it's always easy because now we see a lot of social media and there's a lot of influence on people because of that. Not just social media, just internet, just because of the internet, how people are connected. I feel like there's a lot more pressure on people because of that. But I think it's really important to stay true to yourself, despite any fads or just anything popping up that may be that. Despite any fads or anything on due to social media, celebrities, influencers, all of that, So I think it's not easy, but I think it's really necessary to stay true to yourself despite all of this.
Okay. Wait, I wanted to ask a follow-up on this entire trust conversation that we are having. Has there been an occasion in your life when you thought you gave it your best shot and still somehow kind of failed to earn the requisite amount of trust from people who matter? Tell us about your feelings after this happened and what has been your learning from that.
So I think that yes, that has happened to me in school, where I've tried to gain trust and it doesn't happen. But I also had this instance where in my society I was just being myself, and that itself suddenly made me gain trust of people. So yes, I agree that you should be yourself. Don't try to gain trust and do things that are not originally you. And in time, you will get trust, because if you get trust that overnight, that's not actually true trust. It's not going to stay for a long period of time. So gain trust.
Okay. So let's switch gears a little and let's talk a little about exploration. Ashna,
Yeah.
you have so Atreya has already moved a little in terms of his exploration journey, but you are kind of stepping into that threshold now. What is it that you want to explore? What is it that you want to look forward to?
So overall, I have a great interest for design, art, just anything that has to do with art. So like the picture over here, I do dance, and then I do a lot of drawing. I do other things like that, and crafts as well. So I would like to explore that a bit further, maybe in college or even further than that. I feel like that would be good for me.
Next question is to Shreya. Shreya has been listening very intently to all of us. Shreya,
follow-up question.
Okay, Atreya has a follow-up question.
Right. So I'll probably ask Aryan. So Aryan, when you try to explore different kind of things which are not your traditional, what you usually do you face challenges? Probably explaining why your choices, why you're looking to do this new thing. What is the experience about?
So generally when someone tries to do something new or tries to do something which is not, this similar to what everyone does, it does in some cases become hard for you to explain to people why you're doing it or for what reason you're doing it. Because various times I have tried using a different method for doing something which is done in a very monotonous way every single time, but it becomes hard for you to explain to the people around you on why you're doing that per se. So for that so again in that you need to gain the trust of the person for them to understand what you're doing, or just let you do it in a proper way. So that's what I feel, I guess.
It's interesting. I think the underlying theme here is that you have to have trust with your peers or your family, so that they give you the base to explore and explore new things. So I think that's the underlying theme here.
So I think one of the challenges is that earning trust has been so deeply ingrained in our psyches that maybe sometimes we don't realize that offering trust is the starting point of trust. Ability to just offer trust to someone and say, "Look, I trust you." So Shreya, in this period of lockdown, where parents have seen more of you than they usually do, and hence a lot of your real you has come to their notice, which they might not have noticed earlier. Although it's quite unlikely for parents to be in that space. So what has been the challenges of staying true to your character and making sure that you still have your parents' trust and you have been able to earn more of it during this period?
Actually, my parents and my sister especially, they're usually too busy with most of their work. So when I get the time, I try to help them around the house. And I try to do the things that they have set for me.
Okay. And any challenges you face being the youngest in the house? Too many people asking you to run around, fetch me a glass of water, do this, do that. No such
Usually,
thing. Sorry,
no such thing.
you've been lucky.
Usually it's usually it's me asking all that.
So you have been the one bossing people around.
A bit, yes.
And how has that worked for you? Are people kind enough, or have the nerves started fraying around the edges, and people are now kind of a little fed up of you?
I don't exactly do it that much, but it's there a bit.
Okay. Okay. And here I am throwing up an open question, and you can take turns answering that. Let a particular person finish, and then you can add on to that. So in this entire period of lockdown, when exploration is more metaphysical than physical, physical exploration is limited to about 1,500 square feet. How has your exploration been? What have you been up to over the last 40 odd days? And have you been able to look at the world with a new lens? Maybe Mishti can start, followed with Adya, and then rest of you naturally take turns.
So during this lockdown, as you said, we can't exactly go outside. So instead, I've been trying to explore within the bounds of my house with things like going out of my comfort zone with certain area of studies and genres of books. For example, I really never read non-fiction books, but I've recently started reading a lot of them. And I've noticed that I actually really enjoy reading those books. And so that's one type of exploration that I've done. Another one would be that I recently started a blog, and that's something that my parents always pushed me to do, but I was really scared to do it because I thought that what if people don't like my writing? But I've learned to, during this quarantine, do what makes me happy, and that was starting a blog. So that's another type of out of my comfort zone thing that I've done.
So I personally enjoy reading your blogs.
Thank you.
I was waiting for the next one. So let me know when that comes up.
I just posted a poem. So
oh, you did?
If you want to go read, yeah. So if you want to go read that.
Adya? And you may want to, at the end of it, maybe gently share your blog link with the people here. Or send it to the group so that I can share with the people here.
Yeah.
WhatsApp group that was created last night, and I'll share it with all the people here. Adya, what do you think?
Yes, I too agree with Mishti. Like, no learning happens unless you step out of your comfort zone. And even though we might be locked inside our houses currently, that doesn't mean learning has to stop. Our generation has been blessed with the amount of resources we have. Just pick up a device and you have endless amount of resources and learnings that you can acquire. And recently I started learning a new language. I too have started writing a blog, and I've started exploring new things, not just about myself, but also about my family by being given this opportunity. So I don't believe in restricting learning to just because of lockdown. I won't take it as an opportunity to put myself down, but rather take it as a chance to improve myself and be as a better person. Also, the harder you work, the sweeter becomes the result. So I would also like to say that I'm thankful to these challenges as they're making me work harder, and the result that I'm achieving is becoming better. So I'm really thankful that I've been given this chance, and I'm trying to make the best out of it.
Okay, that's lovely. And I like this concept that you don't have the choice is ours, right? You can pull yourself down, or you can actually look
make
up.
the best of it.
If you are in a hole, basically means the only way is outward and upward, right? So that's all actually a great outlook towards life. Aryan, what do you think? What are you up to?
So I agree with what Adya and Mishti said. It is extremely important for us to step out of our comfort zone to learn something new and to try something new. So I'll just give an example. In the 17th century, when gravity was discovered, at that time Newton was also in a like the entire world was again in a lockdown state due to the plague, the bubonic plague. So I feel that that should be an inspiration for us, and we should try to do as much as we can during this lockdown. Try to explore our boundaries. Try to get new hobbies or get new talents, and so yeah, stuff like that. So it and like Arya said, we have been blessed by like we can just pick up one gadget and search up anything on it, get any information we want to. So I feel that that is really important, and we should put it to our use rather than just piling away time like most of us may be doing. So yeah.
I think Atreya is dying to ask a follow-up question to someone. So Atreya, you have a question here? Okay, then let's go on to Ved. Ved, I know you and Aryan have been ticket thieves around this time, but what has been your thought around this? Spending this time
I think
in the world. You may want to switch on
I
your.
think that it's important to keep yourself engaged, because if you like, we have online classes going on, but that's like that's very monotonous, because the whole point of school is also to interact and have fun, and that's not there in online classes anymore. So it's important to engage yourself. Like one of my friends, he learned juggling in the lockdown, and that kept him really engaged. He could push himself more and learn more juggling techniques. Uh, me and me and Aryan are working on a project as well, for the environment with another team, and that keeps us engaged, because then we have something to look forward to that interests us other than the monotonous life of online school.
Okay. Shreya, you want to add something there? What have you been up to? What have you learned?
I'm quite passionate about baking and dance, and my dance classes have been converted to an online class. So I'm really enjoying it though, but it's not the same as having an actual class, because you can't interact with your friends in class, and it's fine, you're doing all the work, but you just can't enjoy with your friends the.
Yeah, and that's the interesting point you are making, Shreya. And Ashna, you may want to add to that. But you are right. When learning doesn't just happen from a teacher, right? In a classroom full of 20 people, each one. So if you take the average age of 13 years, let's say, so that's 260 years of experience in that room, right? So you learn also from that 260 years of experience, and not just maybe the 30 or 35 years of experience of the teacher. So within that context, Ashna, how do you think, how should the next generation cope? Because I think learning is going to increasingly go online, where you will not have access to other people's body language, copy other people, because in a dance you copy steps of your friends who are better than you, right? Not necessarily you copy the teacher. None of that is likely to happen online.
Yeah.
What do you think is the way forward?
Actually, even if we're learning from other people, I feel like it's important to learn from your own mistakes and your own actions. So this time of online classes, I feel like it's a good time to learn from your previous mistakes rather than from learning from somebody else as well.
Okay. So you are saying look inward rather than looking outward at this point, and kind of make yourself your benchmark and become a better version of your today as compared to yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think I have a follow-up question here, and I'll put this out. Anybody can, get and answer it. So, the popular notion that the world has become a smaller place, technology has connected us, all that sort of thing, which everybody talks about for the last 10, 15 years. But now that it's actually been put in place, do you actually feel like you are connected to your friends remotely? Or do you feel there's a gap and it's always going to be a lot better when you're with them in person? Not only just the learning aspect of it, but also, having fun with them, that sort of thing. I mean, if anybody could come and give me some pointers.
Can you repeat your question? Your voice was cracking between.
Right. So we all, the notion is that technology has made the world a smaller place, right? Because of remote connectivity. But now that this actually has been put to test, so do you actually feel like there's a gap, or can you actually build the same kind of relationships, maintain the same relationships with your friends that you had probably before? Or is it really challenging now?
So, can I answer? So, like, technology is the reason we are connected to our friends right now. Like, without technology, we probably wouldn't be connected to anyone because, we can't step out of the house, we can't meet anyone. So I feel that the technology is pretty important, and it may be somehow creating a gap. Like, we probably, if this lockdown, for example, like, it won't happen, but if it goes on for years and years, then we probably, if we meet again, we wouldn't be as close as we were, because after all, it's technology, we aren't meeting in person. But then for now, it is pretty helpful, as it is, in whatever way, it is helping us stay connected, whether it be distancing us or whatever, but after all, it is helping us stay connected. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that brings me to a point, Atya and Aryan. When was the last time the two of you met? Atya and Aryan, when was the last time the two of you met?
I guess 2 years ago. Yeah, before I moved out.
Yeah, so technology has its own set of advantages, because when Aryan was in Bangalore, you would have met physically a lot more times, right? But ever since he moved to Pune, I have only seen him on Facebook and haven't got to really talk to him. And maybe this is the first time I'm talking to him since he moved out of Bangalore, right? Plus, maybe the first time I'm talking to you since I moved out of Sam Miller, where his dad and I used to work together. So technology, my personal opinion is that has its own set of advantages. The biggest being that it can bring those people together who otherwise are unlikely to come together. For example, Shreya, Ashna and Atya are otherwise likely to be so far apart in their networks that it's highly unlikely that they will come together. But in this particular screen, you have this opportunity to make new friends, people you haven't met before, people you may not physically meet again also, or you can decide to. The choice is, of course, yours always. But it's on this screen itself, I see so many new people who otherwise wouldn't have met each other. So it has its own set of advantages. But when it comes to the proximity of hearts, if I were to put it that way, that perhaps requires us to be in physically the same space as well. So we need to have maybe a balance between the two. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
I think that technology also has its disadvantages, starting with the way you communicate verbally. You put a lot of emotions into it, and you can mean various things by just typing. But when you talk physically, you can ascertain what emotion you want to convey. But over things like texting, it completely depends on. I mean, your text can be interpreted.
Yeah. So we lost Ved a little over there, but I think he made a very important point. The point that he made was that technology can lead to, at least not the video calling part, but if you were to look at written text, WhatsApp, for example, you can be seriously misunderstood because the emotions that you were trying to convey and the emotions that they got conveyed to the recipient could be very, very different. So, of course, that challenge of technology always remains. And plus, I also believe that you can get away from a verbal word. You can verbally say something and say sorry and move on. But a written word has this tendency to kind of linger on in memory for a much longer time because you can see it in hard copy. So that's one of the challenges of technology, of course. I wanted to, it's 12:15 and I don't want to extend it beyond 12:30. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions around your message to parents. Parents are perpetually worried. Even now, I saw some parents trying to peep into the screen and figure out what's happening. So parents are perpetually worried about their children, and that's a fair worry. They want to and they should. But what's your message to kind of give them comfort that, look, don't worry. We will make our own set of mistakes. We are bound to. But your child is safe in his or her own hands as well. We are kind of responsible and we can make reasonably good decisions. And if we struggle and make mistakes, we'll come back to you. Sometimes for course correction, sometimes to just get a shoulder to cry on. But if you don't leave us this opportunity to explore, maybe we'll be half as good as we would have been. So if you had to package that message for them, how would you do that? And you can take turns answering this question.
May I start?
Sure.
Okay. So the world like 20 to 30 years ago and the world today are very different. And the world 20 years from now will also be really different when we all will be living our futures. And like always, we humans will continue to adapt and welcome those new changes and embrace them to our best way possible. So just by the time when we start working, the opportunities which come to us will be very different than the ones that may have come to our parents. So the reassuring message that I would like to give to them is that it's okay, we will try, we might fail, but we'll get back on our feet and try again. And that we will continue to do so until we succeed. And don't worry, we can handle this ourselves. As just the way you all have always done, we too will do it ourselves, forge our own paths to success.
Okay. Aryan?
I guess that my message would be that they can trust us. They can like they have been till now. As we will be growing up, we will tend to make a few mistakes. But we will get back, like Alia said, we will get back on our feet. And we will learn from those mistakes. And like you have handled yourself throughout your childhood and transition into an adult, we will do the same. And you don't need to worry per se. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Ashna?
Yeah, I feel like it's important for parents to let us to let us individually figure out what mistakes we're making and figure out how to correct them. So I feel like that sort of independence would be great for a kid who's growing up right now.
Mishti?
As Aryan said, it is a human tendency to make mistakes, and my assuring message would be that we, as Adya said, we will get back up on our feet, and you just have to trust us that we will take the path that suits us the most. Because about like a few years, 20, 30 years ago when our parents were kids, versus now when we are kids, we are exposed to a lot more things. So I feel like that we are forced to grow up really at a really young age. So they just have to trust us to take the right path. And that's my assuring message.
Shreya? What's your message to parents from this trust and exploration perspective?
I think we can be trusted with independence since, well, our life is in our own hands. Later on, it will be our own. So it's quite hard for that time to.
Go ahead. You want to finish that off?
It's quite nice they're trying to protect us from many things, but we can be trusted.
Wade, what's your perspective on this? Wade? Yeah, so I think Wade is struggling with his connection. Atrya, you have already successfully transitioned from a teenager to an adult, although you're still 19, but that's an adult, right? Sometimes we forget that, but you are. So rather than giving a message to parents, and you have already lived that life and you still grapple with some of those issues, but I'm sure your parents have started treating you like an adult. What's your message to the other people around the table? From your learning from the last 6 years?
So, actually keep crisp, what I would say is it's important. See, there will always be friction between your views and your parents' views because they feel they know what's important for you. And it's right, they do know. But somehow we kind of don't understand it at various points in life. And also, there will be friction between you and your friends because as you grow, your perspectives change. Everybody grows at a different rate. So your friends that you had probably 5 years ago in middle school might not be the same friends you have in high school, and that's okay. You got to be okay with that. So probably the biggest takeaway that I would want you all to take away is that be yourself, because your individualism is what makes you great, and the people that appreciate that will end up being your friends, and that's how you all can probably carry forward, go ahead as a group of friends, and those friends are the ones that will take you through and be a part of your success. So yes, be yourself. That's probably the bottom line.
So how I would like to wrap this entire thing up is like this. I genuinely believe that parents through generations, parents have always had our best interests at heart. Sometimes it takes little while. Sometimes it takes us to become parents ourselves to realize what that moment at that point in time meant. But I think offering even parents our trust, saying that, look, I may not like what they're saying at this moment, but let me offer our trust and let me offer my trust and see where that takes me, where that leads me. I think that's also an important point to kind of internalize and think about. And parents are also human beings. Parents make their own mistakes, both as individuals and as parents. I think it's important to also sometimes just let go of those mistakes, ignore them, and say, छोड़ देते हैं, ये भी बच्चा है. That's an important thing to think of your parents as kids, and say that it's just age that has kind of turned them into adults. Otherwise, they are as much kids in their own hearts as we are. They are entitled to their own set of mistakes, their own set of trust issues, and their own set of explorations. With that, I want to thank you all for being here. It was great pleasure talking to all of you. I have always said that, throw a question at a child and you will be surprised at the kind of answers you get as compared to adults and our own stereotypes. And you guys have again proved me right today as well. Great set of answers, great thoughts around life, great thoughts around who you want to be, what you are, what you want to become. The world is going to be inherited by all of you. We are just custodians of that for the time being. And we have to, whether we like it, we don't like it, we have to hand it over to all of you. And you will do with it what you will. And we'll have to just trust you with that. So with that, I want to thank all of you. It was a pleasure having you all on this show. You were speaking to Flip Carbon TV. Thank you so much.